Okay, so this is part 2 of my first webisode, and I was noticing that I was capping out at like 35 minutes, so I thought that by breaking it in half, we could have the first part be a little bit about glammy history, and the second part be a little bit about airbrush makeup and other fun stuff. So here we go. And there are various things that makeup artists can do. For me, for example, I love beauty makeup. I love making women feel absolutely gorgeous about themselves, but I can also take it to the next level. I could do, full body contouring. I can do tattoo coverage, which is really cool. And I can also do airbrush makeup. And airbrush is the most common thing that I get questions about. I actually have people email me all the time, and I did a blog entry forever ago about the differences between airbrush and regular makeup, and no one, I feel like it's just so far down in the archives that nobody's really read it, but I really wanted to talk to you about airbrush makeup. Basically, the reason that airbrush was introduced into the makeup industry was because of HD television. With an HD feed, and sometimes even like what I'm talking to you on now, which is an LED cinema display from Mac, the Apple Store, there are some have such small pixels, and some monitors now have no pixels. So the clarity that you're getting delivered to your living rooms on a daily basis, what didn't exist 10 years ago. So, when one thing is introduced in one, realm of the entertainment industry, you're left with everybody else who has to rise to a new standard. And makeup artists had to rise to a new standard when when HD television was introduced. And that's when they chose to start trying airbrush makeup. Now, what I always tell people about airbrush makeup is this. A car is a car. You could say all cars are slow, okay? I just looked out into my parking lot. It's not like you can see it, sorry. And for example, you're stereotyping it. All cars are slow is ridiculous, because you have Porsches, and then you have, an 82 Hugo. You have 1,000 different cars. Likewise, that's like saying all jeans are the same. No, they're not. There's 7s, there's paper denim and cloth, there's super rifle denim, there's Hudson, there's every different kind of jeans, every different kind of cut, Euro cut, American cut, all these different cuts of jeans. Saying all jeans fit the same is ridiculous. Airbrush makeup. There are thousands of different compressors out there. Then there's something which is called a PSI, which is your pressure per square inch and your particles per square inch. That is the pounds of pressure that you're delivering from your gravity feed onto the face, and the amount of particles that are actually covering that particular area per square inch. So having an understanding of PSI is extremely important as an artist. Now, people will say to me, they'll go, oh, airbrush makeup is thick. Airbrush makeup is heavy. This is a glass of Cavit I drank last night. I could easily shoot this into the little tube in the bottom of my airbrush machine and spray it on somebody's face. I could take tomato juice and I could spray it on someone's face. I could take anything that's liquid and run it through an airbrush machine. That's what it is. It's a thin tube. Actually, hold on one second. Okay, so I went and I got my airbrush machine for you. Mac Pro, I have about 4 airbrush machines right now, but I'm a big Iwata fan, and Iwata designed a airbrush machine specifically for the Mac Pro store in Manhattan. And this is the machine, okay? It's called a Smart Jet. If you actually go, you can even get it at a paint store too, but it's not going to have the same top feed where you can control the PSI as well, because this is a very big range of PSIs. I shoot at about a 5-pound PSI, which is pretty normal for an artist, and it gives you a nice control and a movement to it. This is called your gun. Okay? What happens is this pulls back, and the more you pull back, it's like a cone. So or the aperture of a camera. The more you draw back, the wider this becomes, okay? So when you're pulling, so if I was just to keep it down like this, it would just be straight air coming out. It's not plugged in, obviously, we're making a loud noise right now. But as you draw back, the aperture of that lens gets wider, okay? So now you're understanding a little bit about airbrush and PSI. You don't need to, but when people say that they offer airbrush, like I'm saying, it's something that's very often stereotyped, and I really want to explain to my clients the importance of it and the dichotomy of it. So now you're understanding that you either have a really nice, beautiful, expensive machine, or you have that Luminous commercial, which I feel like a guy who's just watched a football game that he lost a bunch of money on throw a remote at the television, because the girl is in the commercial and she's going, "It just feels so light and airy on my face." And this is the bottom line. Bitch, if that thing was actually plugged in, you would not be able to talk when you're blowing it over your nose, okay? And there's no PSI on it, so it's not like you can draw it down to a 2 when you want to do a really light mist. Anyway, so you have the machine. Now you're saying, what do you run through it? Well, if I took a really thick, creamy foundation and run it through there, yes, it would feel thick. And if I did the same thing with a light foundation, you can run anything through the compressor. It's the way that you layer the products that make you stand apart from another person who's airbrushing. So now you're understanding a little bit that there's all different kinds of things that go on with the airbrush.